It's continuing to be a very tough forecast, and the main wild card that we've been talking about for days is the dry air. We've got dew points across the area in the lower single digits with air temperatures in the mid-20s. When you have a gap between the dew point and the temperature, we call that the dew point depression. When it's large, say in excess of 10, 15 degrees, it gets it harder for the snow that's falling from the clouds to reach to the ground. Even though radar here looks pretty active, a lot of this is falling as virga, actively snowing from the cloud, but it's evaporating before it hits the ground, thanks to that dry air. And we're seeing that kind of hole here around the radar site out at Wakefield. We're not getting any snow near the ground. As you get closer to the radar site, the sampling is a little bit closer to the ground. So that shows you right there that dry air is still being a big issue in most of our Virginia cities and counties. However, different story down to the south where it's been snowing for a lot longer period of time. We've saturated the column from the surface up to the cloud base, allowing that snow to safely make it from the cloud to the ground. And we are seeing several ground verifications of it already being coated down there. It's very, very cold, so once it starts snowing, it'll accumulate quite fast. Notice the trend here. On the last 3 hours of radar imagery here, we're showing those bands setting on up, and notice the darker blues moving over Ahoskie and Edenton, drifting towards that state line. These are the heavier snowfall rates here, and this will likely overcome the dry air as it lifts northwards and saturate things pretty quickly there. So that's an encouraging trend for those of you on Team Snow. In far southeastern Virginia, talking about Chesapeake over to Norfolk, Evan was on his way into work about an hour ago and said he saw some snowflakes out in central southern Chesapeake. So that's a good sign there. If we had a couple more reports in southern Virginia Beach, Creed's showing some snow flurries already. And as you get closer to the ocean front, a few flurries here and there. And that's normal when we have such the dry air. Some of those snowflakes do make it on through and make it to the ground, but nothing quite steady yet to cause any accumulations. Down to the south, though, you get over towards Elizabeth City, Gregory. I was checking some of the traffic cameras here and not seeing a whole lot in these particular areas just yet. You really have to get over in Currituck, over to Knott's Island, starting to see those ground getting a little bit more covered up, and certainly more so down through the Outer Banks. I mean, look at this widespread moderate to heavy snow, and you get to inland Dare County, down south of KDH, down through the Outer Banks, Rodanthe. And also on top of that, you're closer to that center of our storm that's right now starting to deepen, and the winds are really starting to pick up on there. So we're going to get over to Layla Cox in a little bit, who's down there. And it is quite windy and quite snowy already. Bigger picture here is our low pressure system off the Wilmington coast and starting to really deepen. You can see it really organizing and tightening on up there. And over the next few hours, as we continue to check this imagery, it's almost going to take on the appearance as a hurricane. It's not, obviously it's not a tropical system, but it's going to look like a very well-defined storm system as it moves farther and farther east off the coast. We're starting to kind of see some of that here, that comma shape develop here off the coast of North Carolina, off the far southeast coast of North Carolina. Now, taking a look at the dry air, it's not only at the surface we've got the dry air, it's also in the mid-levels. And a good way to kind of depict that is water vapor satellite imagery. And the areas that you're seeing some of the yellow, the rust color, is going to be the dry air in the mid-levels. We had that certainly earlier in most of our area, but notice that's drifting east and offshore. So we're starting to see a little bit more favorable atmospheric profile for the snow to reach it to the ground. Good news. Also, what's encouraging here, Storm Prediction Center, yes, they still do issue discussions in non-severe weather. They talk about snow banding and things like that. They did put out a mesoscale discussion within the last hour, and this highlights the development of some heavier snow bands, moderate to heavy snow, inch-an-hour snowfall rates, developing south of the Albemarle and lifting north into Southside Virginia. So we're going to really start to see the snow pick up in those snowfall rates over the next couple of hours and likely continue till well after sunset. Now, here's the problem that we were talking about, is the dry air, right? So we've got the temperatures that are all certainly cold enough to support snow in the low 20s. The winds out there makes it feel like it's in the single digits. But you see our dew points. 6-degree dew point at Virginia Beach. I will say, over the last hour, these are starting to edge their way up. We're now at 11 at Norfolk and 10 at Suffolk. Once we probably get within under 10 for a dew point depression, the difference between the two, we'll start to see that snow make it to the ground a little more easily. But we're not there yet, especially in our Virginia cities and counties, but we will get there. Again, temperatures on top of radar here, certainly showing it's cold enough. 21 at Carrollton, 22 at Kempsville. In fact, I think we were at 86 or 87 hours straight now that we're sub-freezing at Norfolk. Everywhere else pretty much similar, and we're not going to really get out of that anytime soon. Out into the peninsula's eastern shore, it's 19 in Toano, 21 Hudgens, 20 at Melfa, 24 over to Eastville. And then North Carolina, widespread snow. Again, a lot of this is falling from the clouds and not reaching the ground closer to the border, but farther to the south where you see those higher enhanced snowfall rates. Hertford area, Grandy, Saw Poplar Branch, a camera there that was showing some snow on the ground. Kitty Hawk, Duck. Temperatures there a little milder. Even Kitty Hawk is up to 33 now. So maybe a little bit of wet snow falling there. The snow characteristics definitely changing from north to south. Off to the north where it's so cold, we have the light, fluffy, powdery snow, maybe a little bit more dense as you get farther to the south. And Peninsula, nothing going on there. Maybe a stray flurry here and there, but just nothing widespread. And these are the areas that likely won't get a whole lot of snow this go around, which is pretty much opposite from what usually happens. Now, winter storm warnings are up for the southern tip of the peninsula, southern eastern shore, south side, northeastern North Carolina. They did shave this back, the National Weather Service, and replace the winter storm warning in Surrey, James City over to York, Gloucester and Matthews and Accomack with a winter weather advisory for lower snowfall expectations in those areas. How much snow are we expecting here locally? Well, we've got, we'll talk about wind chills first. Wind chills tonight are going to get dangerously cold. Okay, we've got extreme cold warning that's up for all of Hampton Roads to see wind chills between 0 and 5 below. Here's a look at how wind chills are shaping on up. Even at this time, we've got those dew points, those wind chills down in the single digits and lower teens. And once the sun goes down tonight, I mean, those wind chills really start to go down. We'll hover around 0 after midnight. And by early tomorrow morning, looking at below 0 wind chill values, 4 below out at Melfa, 1 below over to Chesapeake, and really straight through Sunday morning. It's still going to be very, very cold. So those impacts here locally, moderate snowfall, south side, northeastern North Carolina, gusty winds, moderate to major tidal flooding, and the power outage risk is there as well. Here's a look at those wind alerts. A high wind warning close to the coast, wind advisory back inland with gusts 50 to 60 at the coast. Currently, those winds along the eastern shore, it's breezy, certainly, and that's making it feel a whole lot colder. Newport News, a recent gust of 24. Naval Station Norfolk, 32, 26 miles per hour over to Virginia Beach, and getting higher as you get closer to that storm center down through the Outer Banks, seeing some gusts 30, 35, even close to 40 miles per hour out at Duck. Now, temperatures across the area, it's 21 at Gloucester, 22 in Chesapeake, 20 over to Ahoskie, 19 at Williamsburg, 22 at Suffolk, and then look at the wind chills. Feels like 7 right now out at Norfolk, same out at Melfa, Newport News, 9 out to Chesapeake, 11 in Moyock, feels like 8 at Hampton, Suffolk, and 10 over to Gatesville. Quickly, I'll walk you through Futurecast here. This model's still having a tough time initializing the current atmospheric state. Right? We've got the radar that has snow much farther to the north here. Models have been struggling with this system. It's trying to decipher the extent and how deep the dry air is. And I think it's really, really struggling here. But nonetheless, we'll show it to you as we go through the evening hours. I think this probably should be adjusted farther to the north. Here we are at 5 p.m. Look at the snowfall rates to the south with the banding lifting up to the north into southeastern North Carolina. And then to the south and east by after midnight, we'll start to see things really wrap up. I think it's going to be a sharp cutoff after midnight tonight. And by tomorrow morning, we're looking at all the snow being gone and just left with a breezy, very, very cold day. That's the latest on the weather side. We'll check out those updated snowfall forecast maps when I see you again in a few minutes, ladies.
Yeah, we're definitely going to get back to you soon. Thanks so much, Tim. But we do want to get a look outside. So we have Layla Cox. We don't want to keep her out there too long because we see that wind is really whipping her around that Tim spoke about. She's in Kill Devil Hills. Layla, what are things like out there?
Hey, good afternoon, Dana and Madison. Right now, like you said, we're in Kill Devil Hills out on the coast of Outer Banks. We've been tracking the conditions all day, and I think I said it about an hour ago when I was speaking with meteorologist Hunter Forrest, but I'm going to say it right now. These are probably the strongest wind gusts we've seen since we've been out here since around 6 a.m. If I can point you over there to the coast, you'll see the waves have really been crashing in all day, just progressing and progressing and progressing. And even if you look towards the back, it looks like an abyss of nothing you would be walking into. That's just how cloudy and white the sky is. Of course, with these dangerous conditions, Dare County Emergency Management has issued a state of emergency along with Governor Josh Stein for all North Carolinians. Dare County Emergency Management Services is urging all residents across the county in this area to prepare now before it gets too bad. Now, yesterday you were told to prepare, so if you didn't, you have maybe a few more hours. I wouldn't even want to be out here if I didn't have to, obviously, but if you have some time to just do those last-minute preparations, that's what you should do. But as we've been out here since 6 a.m., the wind has definitely been progressing and the frigid temperatures have definitely lowered. On the other side of this hump, you guys can't see, that's where the roads are, but the snow has been accumulating on the roadways. We've seen a few people driving back and forth. The roads aren't too slick because Governor Josh Stein said as of 10 a.m. earlier today, about 5,500 tons of salt and brine have been placed along the roads. NCDOT has been on it, but no one's been out here at the beach, of course, because it's just too windy. I could possibly blow away, but I promise I'm going to stay with you guys throughout the rest of the day. It's just really, really cold, and these frigid temperatures are going to linger into tonight, definitely into Sunday morning, and perhaps into your work week. So if you don't have to be outside, please don't come out onto the roads. But if you are inside and making sure you're staying as warm as possible, please just be aware of the proper precautions for your heating safety units, as they could cause a possible fire as well. And of course, we have local localities are saying all agencies are on standby for any influx and calls that they might see. But just as always, just be here with us at 13 News Now as we continue to track these conditions. Derek Lyda will be here in about an hour or so tracking the late night conditions. But I can tell you right now is probably the peak chill I've felt since I've been out here, and definitely these strong wind gusts. I'm just going to take you back over just to the ocean one more time, just to show you guys the coast and what it looks like. To see it now, you've seen it earlier this morning and what it looks like now, and I can't wait to see what it looks like tonight and definitely into tomorrow, guys.
Layla, you're being such a trooper out there.
Right.
We've been watching her live shots all day, even though she's just joining us here at 2. But truly, that snow's hitting her horizontally.
Sideways.
Right, hitting her sideways. I mean, Layla, we want you to go. Yes, be careful there. Don't get caught.
Right, do
now.
not get blown over, Layla.
Yeah, she's going to end up on the dunes, and then, you know, good thing Derek's coming down there. Dig her out. But no, Layla, seriously, though, these conditions are harsh, and that's why we're not even seeing anybody out there on the dunes right now. I mean, even when Aaron blew through, when we saw some other storms, you see people who end up going out to the water just to see what conditions look like. But truly, that bitter chill is what's happening out there right now, and that's what's keeping people away.
Right, which is good, because these wind chills can be very dangerous. You heard Tim earlier talk about how we've had 80+ hours, right, of these below freezing temperatures. It's not a good idea to be out there for a prolonged period of time. You know, if you don't have to go out there, don't go outside. That's really the message here.
Right, and local agencies are also canceling services as well to make sure that people are being safe. Hampton Roads Transit services are being suspended early today. Now, the last Tide trains have already left, and the last Elizabeth River ferry trip is leaving Waterside at 2:45. Paratransit, on-demand ride sharing, and base express service at Naval Station Norfolk all end at 3 o'clock. All services are suspended tomorrow, too, and limited snow routes are going to be planned for Monday. So HRT will announce any updates on those snow routes tomorrow.
All right, so we do have an interview now. Right now, crews with the Virginia Department of Transportation, they're out in full force.
Right, so joining us right now on how VDOT is responding to that winter storm is Tim Kelly. Tim, thank you so much here for joining us this afternoon.
Appreciate y'all having us. Thank you.
Of course, and we've been seeing mumblings from you guys all week about how you guys are preparing. We've gotten some viewer video sent with VDOT trucks lining the interstates too. Do you mind giving us a snapshot about what crews you have armed for tonight?
Sure. Yeah, we have about 250 of our trucks that are primed and ready to go. We called in about 200 trucks from other areas of the state. So we have the equipment. As far as personnel, we have about over 1,000 people, whether it's going to be people that are out there plowing and treating the roadways and monitoring those folks out there working, or, you know, the people handling logistics. So we've got a huge team that's ready to go and prepared to handle the challenges that are ahead.
Tim, when do crews start pre-treating roads, and how effective is that pre-treatment, especially in storms like this? I know before, if there's rain, that can wash it away. We're not expecting rain here with these freezing cold temperatures. So when does that pre-treating start, and how effective do you expect it to be?
Well, crews were out there on Thursday and Friday, finished up on Friday as far as with the pre-treatment of our interstates and our county-maintained primary and secondary roadways. So that solution, the brine solution that we're talking about, salt and water, will help prevent bonding between the snow and any potential icing that may happen between that and the roadway, so that we can get out there, do the plowing, and get the stuff off the roads and kind of help conditions there.
Well, of course, and we've seen your crews last week that were pre-treating those roads that left that brine that still kind of remains right now. But you guys kind of talked about the success of how last week people were staying off the roads, which let your crews kind of be able to work a little bit more freely than they typically are. Are you guys hoping for that same success in the message for this weekend?
Yeah, that's definitely one of our big messages as far as to stay off the roadways. It's not only for the safety of motorists that may be out there, but also for our crews that are trying to work. And, you know, when they start doing the plowing and any treatment of roadways that they find icy spots on, you know, we want to have as clear as possible with regard to other traffic out there. It just keeps everybody safe. And really, you know, we like to tell motorists the safest place to be in a storm like this is at home.
You know, there were some roads in the more rural parts of Virginia that had that storm last weekend, and there's still some effects left over. You know, it was the mayor of D.C. who mentioned snowcrete. She said it's snow and it's like concrete. And she said the plows in D.C., some of them were even breaking as they tried to go through the streets because of the ice left over from the last storm and then more ice on top of it. Are you expecting anything like that with this system, especially in those areas that still have that ice and snow buildup?
Well, I think, certainly with this snow, and every storm is different. We all know that. But as far as with this particular one, it's a fluffier snow. So, again, one of the big concerns we're looking at with regard to the snow is any potential blowing that may happen with the winds and the high winds that'll be kind of kicking in, I think, primarily midnight tonight till about noon tomorrow. So that's one thing additional just to normal snow that we're going to be contending with out there. And we do have tree crews that are also prepped and ready to go in the event there's any trees or limbs down to kind of get the roadways clear in that respect as well. So we're working a full frontal attack here on this particular storm.
Excellent. All right, Tim, thank you so much. We so appreciate you taking some time to join us.
Yep, and we'll be right
Thanks for
back
having us.
just after this break.